Hi, everyone, and welcome to Everything Under the Moon. I am your host for tonight. My name is Becky Gydesen, and with me tonight, I do have some team members. But before I introduce them, I just have to say I am so proud of myself. It did work. It is showing on my Facebook right now. So we are Facebook Live, not only on the web, but on my Facebook page. And apparently we are on YouTube and all that stuff too. But if anyone that knows me, they know that computers hate me. So I'm just so happy I got it to work before the show. So tonight I have some of my team members with me. I have May, who's invisible. Hi, May.
Hey, everyone.
And then I have Kira.
Hello, hello.
And then I have Jen that looks like she's in her car again.
I just got off work. Hi.
She's just like, I'm here, but I'm in my car. So we came back a couple weeks ago and we had a ghost host and a couple other people. Well, actually, it was just the ghost host that was here. That's not here tonight. But we had you all a couple of weeks ago. We're only doing the show every other week. I wanted to bring the team back tonight because we had a meeting on Saturday and I wanted us to be able to discuss everything that we discussed. Of course, with its limits, because we don't want to give everything away. But at the same time, I kind of wanted the show to go the way that it's normally going to go. Normally, we're going to start the show with introducing ourselves, of course, and then I would ask people not only their name, their full name and all that information, but what they do. Now, I don't know if you all want to give away anything besides what you do on the team, but we're going to go ahead and kind of stick to a routine tonight and kind of let everyone see what Everything Under the Moon is going to truly be like. So, May, you want to tell people what it is you do and where you're from and where you're at right now?
I'm initially from Douglas, Arizona, living in Tucson now, and I am a direct care worker for a local organization. And for the team, I'm co-lead, case manager, team manager. What other titles?
Just do it all. She does it all. You're my second hand person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Kira, what about you?
Hi, my name is Kira. I am the historian for the team and also investigator. And I said my government job, I am a health and safety consultant for daycares. Yeah, and that's me.
That's you. And Jen?
I'm Jen. I'm from Long Island, New York. My government job is government. I work for an auto glass company. I work for a local auto glass company, and I am an investigator in training.
Okay. And for those who do not know me, I am actually originally from Toledo, Ohio, and I live in, of course, Tucson, Arizona now. And this right now is basically my full-time job, Tucson Ghost Company, which includes the Ghost Society, which includes this podcast. And then, of course, I've been raising a family, but I don't know if I really can count that anymore because my kids are pretty much grown up. I think my youngest is 14 and she's the only one I have left. I mean, I have Aubrey living at home, but she's an adult now. So I don't know if I can still count raising a family as one of my jobs since they're pretty much been raised. But I used to raise 4 kids while doing this job and going to college. Can you imagine that? I used to do that. So the show usually goes to where we would introduce them, kind of talk about a little bit about what they do, but not get totally into it right away. Just kind of give people a teaser. And then we would pick out these little pink questions, which are random, and ask a couple random questions just because, we want to get to know our guest. I'm folding them up right now because I haven't had a chance to do that. While I'm folding these up, I went and saw Lilo and Stitch this past weekend. For those who do not know me, I am a huge Disney fan. So I had to go see the live action. Have any of you girls seen it yet?
Nope.
No, none of you have seen Lilo. Okay, have you seen the cartoon Lilo and Stitch?
Oh yes, that's my
Yeah.
favorite. I'm afraid
Yeah.
they're gonna mess it up, so I don't know about seeing the live action.
I was
I'm
worried about
waiting.
that too because Disney does have a tendency of I love Disney. I love you, Disney. But they do have a tendency of messing up live actions. The only live action I really liked when they started doing all of them was Beauty and the Beast, but I think that's pretty personally because that's one of my favorites. And they went deeper into the story of Beauty and the Beast. They kind of explained why people didn't, remember the castle and stuff like that. So I liked that. I liked that they went deeper into the story for Beauty and the Beast. Aladdin was okay. I did not even bother to see Snow White because I heard that they changed it way too much. Didn't bother to see The Little Mermaid, anything like that. But I was worried about Lilo and Stitch because Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorites. But I went and saw it, and there's been a lot of people that have complained. But the only thing I did not like was they did kind of change the Ohana part, which kind of made me sad because I loved the whole Ohana means family, and family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. That kind of changed a little, but I really like what they did. And the one thing that really, really drew my attention to it, and I will admit this full heartedly, Stitch is so freaking cute. The live version of Stitch is just so freaking cute. It's just, you want to take him out of the movie screen and just cuddle him. He is so freaking cute. But yeah, I did like it. They did change some things. They didn't keep it exactly the same. But I did like it. I did enjoy it. And apparently this is Disney's like biggest hit for like a while. It's like the first film that has like, I think they're saying is reaching like $1 billion at the box office. So it's been a huge hit, but I liked it. And then Memorial Day weekend, I actually went to downtown Disney. I didn't get to go to Disneyland, which was sad, but I did get to go to downtown Disney. And I got some of their 70th anniversary things because they're celebrating the 70th anniversary. And of course, I got some other things because I am a Disney addict. And if you could see my house, you would see that it's completely Disney, and I have a ton of Disney around me. So it was fun, though. We went to the San Diego Zoo. I hadn't been to the San Diego Zoo for probably about 5 or 6 years, so I forgot how much walking it is. And it's a lot of uphill and downhill. And I ended up finding muscles in my legs I forgot I had. So that was fun. So I do have our first question. If you had a free concert ticket to any band or any singer, who are you going to see? So any free concert ticket, who would you go see? We'll start with May. I know you're not going to pick any type of country artist.
Corn. Corn is my absolute favorite.
Okay, that didn't take you long to think about it all, did it?
No.
How about you, Kira?
Oh, this is so hard. I absolutely love your answer, May. I was like, ugh, love it. I'm trying to think. I would say one I haven't seen yet, Bad Omens.
Okay. And what about you, Jen?
Dead or alive?
Doesn't matter, I guess.
Kira knows this answer. It's One Direction. Give it to me for a third time. Let's go.
In all honesty, that is one that I can't really answer because I used to be really heavily into country music, and I still enjoy country music. And I basically saw a lot of artists that I wanted to see. And in fact, I met a lot of them. I used to hang out with some of them. So I don't know if I were to pick someone now, because I've already seen so many. I honestly don't know. Maybe like Huey Lewis and the News, but because that was like one of my first major groups that I liked, giving away my age now. But I used to be like a huge Huey Lewis and the News person, and I've never seen them live. So maybe them, but they don't tour anymore. But that would be cool. All right, next question. What is or was your dream career? Are you living your dream career? I know I'm not. Well, kind of am, but kind of not. What about you, May? What was your dream career? If you could do anything, what would it be that you'd be doing?
Since I was young, probably about middle school, I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I actually wanted to study and swim with sharks.
You know, you can still swim with sharks, though. You don't have to be a marine biologist for that.
But I wanted to study them, and I wanted to help with conservation and all that stuff. That was what I wanted to do.
I took zoology in school and did a marine biology class once. It was a lot of fun, so I don't blame you. That is something fun. What about you, Kira?
I would say, I don't know, I've had a lot of different ones I wanted to be. For the longest time, it was always like a doctor or something along those lines, but I'm pretty close to the public health field now. Ideally, I wouldn't have to work, and then I could just do all my passion stuff and don't have to worry about having to work.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Win the lottery. Don't worry about it anymore.
Exactly. It's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I could never, ever do any type of health care to where there's blood involved because I would like see blood and pass out and I wouldn't be much help to anyone. So, what about you, Jen?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a chef, but can't really cook that well. So that didn't really work out. And then as I got older, I wanted to be a makeup artist. And now I just want to stick in the auto industry. I love it. I love it here.
You actually like what you do?
I do. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well,
Finally.
for the longest time, I wanted to be an actress. So that was like my major thing was being an actress. But in reality, if you think about it, I kind of still do that because when I give tours or hunts or do this, I am publicly speaking and, things like that. So it's kind of doing my dream job. But, I don't actually now think I would want to be like super famous because I see what happens when you become super famous. And I don't think I would want to put up with that. I kind of like my privacy and I kind of like to be able to hide out when I want to hide out. So being too much in the public eye, you really don't get to do that. Okay. Next little pink question. If you could own any pet or animal, what would it be? We're going to start with Jen this time because we've been starting with May. So Jen, if you could own any single pet.
A raccoon.
Oh, I know, they're the cutest.
They have little hands and they look like my dog.
I keep teasing, well, I want to own a zoo anyway, but I keep saying that I want to own a raccoon and I want to name it Rocket.
Only if you can let it hold my hand when I come over.
I love raccoons. So yeah, I don't blame you there.
hands.
They're so cute. They're little mask eyes. And they're so adorable with their little paws. Yeah, I love them. I love them. What about you, Kira?
I am stuck between one of those big giant rabbits, like the Flemish giant, that are like big as a dog, or a dragon.
Ooh. Dragon would be interesting. Just don't let it, breathe fire or anything. You don't want your house on fire.
No.
That wouldn't be good. What about you, May?
I think based on my last answer, you could probably guess.
Yeah, but I'm still asking anyway.
A shark.
A shark. That means you'd have to have an ocean.
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that? I would much prefer an ocean over the desert too. So I'm not a desert person. I never have been. I like water way too much. And, that's one thing that Tucson lacks. So for me, oh gosh, what would be one animal I would own? I know Aubrey would say penguin. Bailey would probably say a llama or a flamingo. So I know my kids pretty well. For me, oh geez, I don't know. Maybe a sloth. I love sloths. They're so cute. They also have those, little eyes and paws. We did a sloth encounter one time. It was the cutest thing ever. And when you can like feed them, And when I went to feed the sloth, you know how they have those long claws? He like wrapped his claw around my arm, so I couldn't move my arm because didn't want to get scratched. So I had to wait for the zookeeper to come over and kind of move him off of me. But it was just so cute because it was like he was holding my hand. It was the most adorable thing ever. But I've owned so many different animals. I've owned goats, bunnies, sugar gliders, bearded dragons, so a type of dragon, Kira. I've had and I've had a shark, May, not like a huge shark, but I had them in my aquarium.
Not the same.
I know, not the same, but it was a shark. It was a type of shark in my aquarium. I have a bunny now. I have tortoises, chickens, duck. I have a turkey. That's one of my new things is a turkey. Never had a turkey before. Dogs, cats. I know I'm leaving things out that I used to own. The goats. Oh my God. They were adorable as babies. May, do you remember my cute baby goats?
Yeah.
They were adorable. I miss them. I used to have a zoo, but unfortunately, when you're spending more money on your animals than your family, something's got to change. So, okay. So my goal is when we do this is we're going to have 5 questions, 5 of the pink questions. So I have right now 3 of them that we asked, right? Yeah, 3. We lost Jen. So here is my next question. And when we get Jen back, we'll ask her. What would be your dream vacation? And then the part 2 of it is what has been your favorite vacation that you've done. So, Kira, start with your dream vacation. There's Jen.
My dream vacation would have to be to go to Antarctica because hardly anyone goes there, and I do have this dream of mine to be able to travel to every continent. So Antarctica would be the dream vacation. My favorite vacation so far, 2 summers ago, I went to Europe for 3 weeks by myself, and I did like Northwest Europe. So started in London and then kind of made a circle to like Amsterdam, Berlin, Prague, Munich, Paris, and went to Stonehenge and saw lots of history, which, as we know, is my favorite thing. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite.
Okay. So, Jen, I know you were kind of MIA when I asked this, but it's a 2-part question. The first part is what would your dream vacation be?
My dream vacation, everybody makes fun of me for this, is just Boston.
Okay.
I just I just like how historical it all is. You don't have that here really. Like we do, but they're not from like the 1700s and it's not the same building that it's been for the last 300 years.
Okay.
Boston.
And what has been your favorite vacation? That's part 2 of the question.
I think my favorite vacation last year, my family and I went to Hawaii and I saw a waterfall for the first time, and I thought that was probably the most magical thing I've ever seen in my life. That was so cool.
I love waterfalls. In fact, I always I get made fun of for this, but whenever I go to Disneyland, I love to do the jungle cruise because they go the backside of water, right? Well, when we were at San Diego Zoo last weekend, there's an area where you can walk behind the waterfall. And I was like, look, I got the backside of water and we're not even at Disneyland. And my family started laughing at me and making fun of me. But hey, I was happy. It was a waterfall and it was the backside of water. What about you, May? Where is your dream vacation for part 1?
I have a lot of places. I think probably one of the top ones would be Egypt. I would love to go to Egypt to explore the pyramids and tour all the different places and just see all that stuff. It's just that fascinates me for some reason. The best vacation I've had many years ago, I actually went to Oahu and I spent 2 weeks there and we climbed Diamond Head, we drove around the island, we did a submarine ride, just everything we could do while we were there for 2 weeks, and that was really fun.
Wow. That sounds like fun. Mine, of course, would be probably, I've always wanted to go to Scotland and Ireland, and they're like right there next to each other, so it would be like one trip. My family, the McKitty name, comes from, well, it's been back and forth. Uh, some people say we're Scottish, some people say we're Irish, some people say that we're both, that we kind of traveled between them both. Um, so I would love to see that, country that, the McKittys come from. Plus, I love castles. I always tease that I want to live in a castle. So I know that, those areas have castles and stuff and the old buildings. So love to go there. Also would love to, go to any and every Disney theme park. My favorite vacation, I've traveled the US by car. I've been to a lot of places. Of course, I'm going to have to pick Disney though. Um, Probably Disney World. I go to Disneyland all the time, so I'm used to that one. We did Disney World a couple times and I love it and I want to go back, and I think we are going back next year. So it's just the reason I love Disney so much is because it's family oriented. And so the family can do a lot together. Now, since they're older, it wouldn't matter. But when the kids were younger, I loved that we could do rides and stuff with the kids and everything. I grew up with Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. And we did take the kids there about 6, 7 years ago. And the sad thing was Aubrey and Bailey weren't tall enough to do everything. So that was kind of sad. And it's hard. So that's why I like Disney, because you can do so much together. I'm trying to pick out another pink card. I had one that I picked out, but it was something that I had asked last week. So I didn't want to repeat it because we already got your answers. Okay, here's one that I did not ask. If you were on the set of any TV show, past or present, what set are you visiting? So any TV show. And we'll start with Kira. Got to think about it.
Yes. There's like a handful of shows that are like my favorite. I would say it's between two, and they're very opposite ends of the spectrum of things. But the first 5 seasons of Supernatural is always going to be my favorite show. But then my other favorite show is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So it's like a musical dramedy thing. So completely different. But I would love to bet on either of those sets.
Okay. What about you, May? I'm making May think.
Well, no, I mean, I have a lot of shows that I like watching, but I don't know if there's like one in particular that I would want to see in person.
Can be past or present. So something,
I know I'm trying to think, and like nothing's like standing out to me right now.
Okay, we'll come back to you. What about you, Jen?
Glee.
Is that one of your favorite shows?
It is my comfort show. It's the worst and greatest show I've ever seen.
Now, see, for
Even
me, there's a lot of shows that, I used to watch. Like, I don't honestly watch a lot of TV. I really don't. I've never been a TV watcher. I'll watch movies here and there. A lot of times my husband will turn on the TV and he turns on something that I don't want to watch, and I go do my own thing, or I'm playing on my phone. So the only TV shows that I've ever actually gotten into when I was younger was Family Ties. Then, of course, in like the 90s, Friends. But I would say the one that I've been like very, very like, and you can ask May about this, like anytime the show's been on, I'm like, do not interrupt me. Do not call me. Do not text me. It's no longer playing though, but Once Upon a Time. I loved that show. And I think I fell in love with that show because of Captain Hook. I loved Captain Hook. And I remember May would always tease me going, I'm going to text you during the show. No, you're not. I'm not going to answer if you do. Okay, May, it's back to you now. You need to answer.
Darn it. I can't think of a show. I mean, the
Keep
only
thinking.
one that into for a while, and then I stopped watching it because I lost interest, was like The Walking Dead.
You want to be with zombies? You can be with
Well,
zombies if you want to be.
if I can run faster than them, then yeah, I'm okay with it.
I would not want to be with zombies at all. So, that's just me though. I watched some of The Walking Dead. That was something that Will got into, and I would watch it here and there, but I didn't like watch the whole thing. And there is like a lot of blood and gore to it, and I don't like stuff like that, so I never really got into it. So, yeah. As long as you can run faster than the zombies, you're good with Walking Dead, huh?
Yeah, give me something to defend myself with. And
All right. So that's how that section of the show would go. We would, pick about 5 of the pink cards, and then we would move on to these green cards, which gets us into the paranormal part of things. Before we start with that, we do have a chat room, and I do see that there's a couple comments in the chat room. I do have to put on my glasses anytime I read them. And I hate wearing my glasses. I only have to wear them for reading. But hello to everyone in the chat room. Glad you're here. Love that you are tuned in, and I hope you will tune in every 2 weeks to us. And we will go ahead and move on to these lovely green cards that are paranormal. Luckily, these are written big enough to where I don't have to put on my glasses. All right. So I know a lot of times everyone always asks us the scariest things that we have experienced. And I always have issues answering that because I don't really think of this as scary. And I'm not really sure if I have that question in here or not. But this one is the funniest thing that has happened to us on a location. So that is the question. And everyone's probably going to have to really stop and think about that one, huh? Does anyone have a response right away about the funniest thing that has happened on a location? May, you can all speak up,
well, I mean, to me personally, no, but I mean, all the times that you got scared by a bug and screamed.
So you're using me as your funniest thing.
Well, I mean, I have never personally myself have had anything funny that I can think of. Because usually when
Okay.
we're laughing, it's because you're running out of the room screaming because there's a bug.
Thanks. Love you too, May. Jen, Kira, can you think of anything?
Mine was similar to what May's saying. It was when we were in Tombstone and we were investigating and we were using doing the dots and everything, and we're all tuned in. Like, we think we see something moving thing, and then a big ass moth gets right in front of the light. We're all like, ugh, because it was like, and then we're just like, what was that? I was like, it's a moth. I remember I freaked myself out because I was like, oh my god, I finally saw something. I never saw things like it. I was like, it took me forever. And then I was like, it's a damn bug.
I know. They ruined it for us. We all got a good laugh out of that, though. What about you, Jen? Can you think of anything funny?
So I think it's a toss-up between my first ever investigation that I did with you guys, when you and Aubrey just walked past the room and banged on the wall. Because, we were literally fresh out of never doing this before. And now I think back to it and I was like, that has literally never happened. And she did that to scare us. So
okay. To be honest with you, it wasn't to scare you.
I know you wanted us to go look, but it scared us anyway. Oh God, I had another one. What was the other one?
While you're thinking of that, I want to explain why I do that to the audience so they don't think I'm just mean. When we actually train our investigators. So what we do is we put them, in locations with a trained investigator, and we like to test them to see what their initial reaction would be. So we will do things like pound on a wall or, shine a light or something, because we want to see if they will get up and try to debunk it, or if they go, oh my God, it was a ghost. So we do things like that to try to train them to debunk. So that's why we do that. All right, Jen, did you think of the other one?
Oh god. It happened recently too. What was it?
Did it deal with me running around about a bug?
No, I have not seen you run around about a bug yet. I actually think this wasn't paranormal at all, but we were doing that big training, all of us in Tombstone, and you were like, "All right, you were like, Jen, Hal, Zach, you get out, and I'll do whatever with Kira and whoever else." And the three of us just like slap our knees and we're like, "Ah!" and then just get off the couch. At the
The
same
old age
time.
thing kicking in.
And Hal was like, "You're not even old enough to do that." I was like, "But I was comfortable, and this chair kind of sucks."
Yeah. May's funniest thing is, of course, looking at me freaking out on bugs. At the time, I didn't think this was funny, but I think it had to be the time to where I got left alone over a mouse. That freaked me out. But it was funny afterwards finding out it was a mouse. Yeah, one thing I have to say is I find it hilarious because I have done so many investigations, and we do allow one person to stay. Usually, when it's a residential, we ask them to stay in a different area because we don't want to freak out the residential people and things like that. So we ask them, please pick a room that, you don't want us to investigate, stay in there, no TV, stuff like that, so we can do our thing. But we only allow one person to stay because of contamination issues. When it comes to businesses, things are a little bit different. Because we don't have alarm codes and stuff like that. We do ask them to keep it small. But I do remember one of the first businesses we did, and May, you'll probably remember this too, was a museum. And I don't want to say where or who, but it was a museum where the director stayed, and it dealt with a lot of history. And there was a flag in this museum. Are you getting the hint of where we're at, May?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's a flag in this museum that dealt with, wasn't it the Civil War?
One of
I
those.
believe
I can't remember exactly which one it was.
Gettysburg or something. I know it was an old flag, and it had like blood on the flag, and it was from an old war. Which I'm going to have to look into that further for my book too. But I was sitting in this room with the director, and we had one of those twist flashlights. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy around twist flashlights, but I have used them, and they don't just go off for any reason at all. And a lot of times they don't go off at all. But we had this twist flashlight, we made sure it wasn't us that, moved or anything that would make it go off. And we're sitting there, and, May and another investigator in a different area. And I'm sitting here with the director. And we're kind of talking, asking questions. And I asked a question along the lines of, if there's someone in here with us, please turn on that twist flashlight by the flag. That twist flashlight, at the exact time I asked that, turned on. And the director of the museum, keep in mind, this is a guy. He looks at the flashlight, looks at me, and goes, "Did that flashlight just turn on?" And I'm like, "Yep." He calmly gets up and leaves. And I'm left in the room all by myself. And I'm like, wow, that's very gentlemanly of him to do. And this has happened to me more than once, to where I've been with a guy in a room investigating, and the guy will get up and leave and let me stay there by myself. And I just find that so hilarious. Because, men are always like, we're the protector, we'll protect you, but yet they get up and leave me. So I find that hilarious. I always laugh at that. Do you remember that situation, May?
I do.
It was like he could not get out of that room fast enough. And I'm like in that room, and I'm like, well, May, do you want to come join me? I'm by myself now. So that's what I find funny, is when, people that act all tough on the exterior, get all scared and like leave. That's funny to me. And it's nothing against them, it's not something they do for a living, but I just find it funny. All right, next green card. What paranormal experience would you love to have that you haven't already? Does that make sense? So something that you would love to experience that you haven't experienced already. What about you, Kira?
I would say seeing a full body apparition with my own eyes.
Okay. What about you, Jen?
I want to hear something like directly in my ear, but none of you guys do. It's the clearest phrase ever, and I'm the only one who hears it, and then you all think I'm crazy for a little while.
Been there, done that. What about you, May?
It's a toss-up between a full-body apparition and a cryptid. I would love to witness something that, might be considered a cryptid that we can't explain.
Okay. I want to go on a UFO. I'm like, take me away. I want to go on a UFO. Of course, well, I don't know. Do I want them to return me? I don't know. I guess it depends. Does their planet have a Disney? If they have Disney on their planet, I'm fine.
That other paranormal group we were talking about the other day did a UFO meetup the other day, and we missed it.
Oh.
You know who I'm talking about. I'm not saying names.
Yeah, we're not going to advertise that, but yeah. Yeah, I'm like, UFO. Because when it comes to the paranormal, I've experienced a lot. So I think the UFO thing would be it. And, this world has gone insane. I honestly would not mind at all. Be like, take me away. What is that? Calgon that's supposed to take you away for the bad thing? I'd be telling the UFO, take me away. All right. What location is on your bucket list? We'll start with May. What location is on your bucket list?
Vlad's Castle.
Why?
I don't know. It's just really cool looking. Really old, decrepit castle looking location. Creepy looking. It just looks really cool from all the shows and pictures I've seen of it.
Okay, what about you, Kira?
I was trying to think. I think somewhere in Salem would be really fun because I visited, but obviously they don't really do ghost hunts except for like extremely high price. Or I forgot the other one. I had another one, but I forgot. Oh, the Conjuring House in Rhode Island.
Oh, okay. What about you, Jen?
It would be Kings Park Psychiatric Facility, the original, but it doesn't exist anymore. So in place of it, Waverly Hills Sanatorium.
Yeah, that would be a cool place to go.
That would be so cool.
Yeah. For me, I don't know. I would love to do like an old hospital or an old jail. Probably go back to my home state of Ohio and do like the Ohio State, the old prison or whatever it is that's there that they do the tours and hunts in. That would be cool. That would probably be something I would want to do. Just because I would like to go home. I haven't been back to Ohio in like 6 years. And I was raised there, so. All right. I'm trying to keep track of how many cards we have here. I don't have as many green questions. I think we're going to have to add to that. Okay, so favorite location that you have been to. What has been your favorite location so far? And it doesn't have to be something with the team, just in general. Let's start with Jen. What's your favorite location so far?
I think my favorite location that I've been was, I want to say the Queen Mary when I was a teenager. That was really cool. It's really spooky, but it's cool.
I've been there. That is a cool one. What about you, May? Invisible May, what is your favorite location?
Birdcage was a cool one because we had the really cool EVPs, and then we cut your zipper moving. I also enjoyed Eureka a lot because that was probably the first time that I actually saw the shadow figure not once but twice in two separate
Mm-hmm.
locations. So
Yeah,
that was,
Eureka was cool.
yeah, that's a really good town.
What about you, Kara?
I'd say Colossal Cave, always my favorite that I've been on investigation with, and then just visiting the Jerome Grand Hotel.
Been there. That's pretty cool too. Unfortunately, when I went to the Jerome Grand, I was on a floor that didn't, I mean, it was the maternity ward floor, so there wasn't as much activity. I think I got the most activity when I did the actual tour.
Yeah, I didn't experience anything when we were at the Grand, but I thought it was just very interesting, and I love the town and the history behind it.
Yeah, that old elevator you have to take in the hotel, that's interesting for sure.
Oh yes, oh yes.
It's definitely an interesting elevator. And I've been to Queen Mary. I've actually spent the night on Queen Mary. I did a tour of it, and then my husband and I went back, and we actually spent the night. When we spent the night, there was a paranormal event going on there, which we weren't aware of at the time. But that, so they were doing a bunch of ghost hunts that we didn't do. So what we did was we went to bed and set our alarm for 2 a.m. when all that ghost hunting of the other groups were done. And we got up at 2 a.m. and then we explored the ships, and we were basically by ourselves. No one was out. No one wanted to go out on deck at 2 a.m. It was definitely very interesting. I did love Eureka too. We did, gosh, how many buildings in Eureka did we do, May? There was
4 or 5.
4, because there was I'm trying to think of them all. The Opera House,
Opera House,
Jackson Suite,
and then that restaurant across the street.
the cafe, and did we do the restaurant? I don't think we only spent like a little bit of time at the restaurant.
We weren't in there for very long.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like the cafe, that location, because I'm like trying to figure out how to explain it. So there's the building, you have the cafe on like the right side, and there's a bar on the left side. And there's like stairs that went upstairs, and they have like rooms up there. And I guess they're going to turn that whole thing into rooms, but I think that used to be doctor offices. I think they said up there. I can't remember.
I don't
But
remember.
when you access the cafe, there's tunnels underneath, and the tunnels used to lead all over the town to the mines and stuff, but now they're like closed off, and it only goes so far. I actually stayed in that building the very last time we were there. I've stayed in that building twice. And I think you stayed one night in that building, didn't you?
Yeah, the first time we went.
Yeah, and then they switched us over to a hotel.
Yeah.
But I've stayed there 3 times total. And the first time was for like 2 nights. The last time was like for like the whole time I was there, so like 3 or 4 nights. I have to say, because the first time we went, was there anyone? I think there's other people staying there too, weren't there?
No, we were there alone.
Oh, were we? I couldn't remember. Well, I know the
Yeah.
second time Will and I had went, I think there's other people staying in one of the other rooms, if I remember straight. The last time it was just me, Will, Aubrey, and Bailey. And this was, a few years back, so they were younger. And there's like 4 bedrooms in the area, I think. There's a kitchen, a living room, a front bedroom, the main bathroom, another bedroom with a bathroom, and then another bedroom with a bathroom, and then the main bedroom with a bathroom. So we had 4 bedrooms to choose from, and I told the girls, you can choose whatever bedroom you want. You can have separate bedrooms. You can, sleep together, whatever you want. No one wanted the front bedroom. I don't know, that front bedroom just had a weird feel to it. I didn't even like being in that front bedroom. So we avoided that one. they ended up staying in the room right across from us, and they stayed in the same room together, only because of the fact that the whole building is haunted. So I think they didn't want to be too far from us, but they, did sleep in their own little room across the way from us. And it was definitely interesting staying there. And then we had free roam of the tunnels and everything, but Eureka's pretty cool. My favorite location, though, I don't know. I've done so many of them. Gosh, I don't want to name it because I don't want to give them the credit. But there's one, May, that we were very close to getting a working contract with until COVID hit. And we had done, I think, 2 or 3 years with them, hosting an event with them. We didn't get paid for it, but I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. But this location had a lot of activity, and my one daughter, Savannah, she never has experiences, but she even heard a disembodied voice there. So she actually, I don't know if that was like her first experience, but she had one out at that location, and it was a pretty active location. But unfortunately, it's under new ownership now, and they're doing their own thing, which is why I don't want to say anything. But I liked that location. All right. Last green card, and then we go on. So, do you believe spirits can communicate through dreams? Let's start with you, May. Do you think they can communicate through dreams?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I have a way of proving it or not. When I was in high school, I had a friend who died in a car accident, and he came to me in a dream like 6 months afterward, and it was an extremely vivid dream. And I woke up, I don't know, the way I felt after I woke up from that dream, it was kind of weird, but it almost felt like he had actually come to me with a message for myself and the rest of our friends. So I don't know. I don't know if it was just wishful thinking, or if it was, he had truly come to say goodbye in the dream. And I think that's the only time I've ever had that happen, because I've had family members that have passed, and I've had dreams about them, but it never came off as being an actual
Communication.
visitation. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Kara? Do you think they can communicate through dreams?
I believe so. Similar to what May mentioned about having her dream. I lost my father when I was 19, and over the years, I've had several dreams with him. And it says when you wake up, you feel different. It just like it's like a whole dream. It just is. It's so different. It's hard to explain if you've never experienced it before. But I do believe that some of the times it's been him communicating with me.
Okay. What about you, Jen?
I believe so, just because my favorite aunt had passed away about 6 years ago now, and I'd never had a dream about her before or after she passed. And then one day, I had a dream where she didn't say anything to me, but she was pretty much just comforting me because she knew that I was like not dealing very well, and like that was about a year or two after she had passed, and I haven't had a dream about her since. So I do believe.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I believe they do. I've had several weird dreams, and I've woken up from weird dreams and had weird things happen. But the one in particular I can think of that really got to me was Will and I were on a road trip. We went through New Mexico, and we were at St. James Hotel in Cimarron, New Mexico, I think it is. We were the only ones there. We had the whole hotel to ourselves. So they had all the rooms open that, we could go explore. But we were staying in the one room, and I can't think of her name right now. But apparently she doesn't like females staying in her room, but she loves it when men stay in her room. And what was really funny is when we had first gotten there, Will went ahead and took the luggage up to our room. And when he took the luggage up to our room, the door closed behind him. And Will's back there making weird noises. He's got the hiccups. So when the door closed behind him, he just was like, okay, that's weird. He reopened it thinking maybe it's just, something weird. So he like tried to recreate it, and it wouldn't close on him. So he just, reopened it, went back to putting down the suitcases. The door closed again. So it was like she was trying to trap him in the room with her. Well, later that night, when we actually went to bed and I went to sleep, I remember having a dream about this lady, and she was like in this old fashioned gown. And she like approached me and she's like, I don't like you being here. And she's all, I want you out. And then I felt someone sit on the bed next to me, and it woke me up. And I felt like someone was staring at me. So, yeah, I do believe they can communicate through the dreams, because that one was very intense. And I will never forget that dream because of the fact that she basically told me, get out of my room. I don't want you here. But of course, I stayed. I wasn't going to leave in the middle of the night. I was like, tough, I'm here. You're putting up with me. So I do believe that they can. So that's how the program's going to go. And then we would use the next part to get to know more about what the person does that I have for the guest, and anything that they want to promote, which right now we're going to go ahead and talk about our own stuff, our own things that are happening, and etc. So we had a meeting on Saturday, and I was this close. Can you all see that? This close to shutting down my company. And that's because there's a lot going on. Nationwide tours move in. They're like the Walmart of ghost tours. They make little tours like mine, very hard to see. So my sales had gone down, and I found out I was going to have to put out more money to keep, other things open. And let's just say stressed out galore between the business and personal things. I did a video on my Facebook that I was pretty much in tears, telling people I was stressed out, ready to quit, didn't know what to do. I met with you all on Saturday. I had people reach out to me, give me their support and suggestions and all kinds of stuff. And so the outcome of everything is that we are keeping our doors open, but we are rebranding the company and pretty much the team. We will stay with Tuson Ghost Company. We will stay with Tuson Ghost Society. But we're going to kind of do things a little bit different. The tours are going to change names. It'll still be a great tour, great ghost hunts, but we're adding. So I don't want to give it all away, but the tours are going to offer things that the other tours do not offer. Our ghost hunts, we're going to try to bring in more equipment and different equipment, and we're going to try some, different experiments and things like that. So the rebranding of the ghost hunts is probably going to come first, because that's not as much to do, so to say. That's more getting equipment. And the ghost tours is going to take a little bit longer because we have to put more work into it. The ghost hunts, I'm hoping to rebrand by July or August. The tour, we're looking at rebranding by August or September. So it kind of depends on how fast we get the hunts done to how fast we get the tours done. We are also going to do things as a team. And we've been discussing that, and you girls have come up with some great ideas. We've thought of trivia nights, craft nights. We're going to do different lectures. And so I kind of want you guys to kind of hop in and talk about all this stuff too. Don't wait for me to call you in. Just go ahead and talk when you feel, when, you have some input. I know Kira, we talked about, history research, doing lectures on stuff like that. You're our historian. So what do you think that direction is going to look like?
Well, I said I'd be very excited to do it. There's so much history to Tucson, a lot of different angles you could do. And I feel like, an hour lecture would only cover a very like small portion of that. But I think it'd be very interesting to like really cement ourselves into the history to show that, hey, we do know what we're talking about as far as history wise go. We're not doing some, half-ass chat GPT, find me all my sources or whatever. Like we know the
Right.
stories, we know what things make sense, to really just show how amazing Tucson is and its history is. And yeah.
Yeah, and you are wonderful at the history. I always brag about you on that, and you're also wonderful with the research. So I figured, if we do stuff like that, you will definitely get to shine because you will definitely get to show people, hey, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Um, I definitely think for people that don't know, our Tucson Ghost Company and Society page, we merged them into one. We used to have a Tucson Ghost Company page and a Tucson Ghost Society page. Part of our rebranding is kind of merging things together. This way, we're not putting extra effort into having several things, several different places. But you are the one that post all those history posts that are on our page, and you draw so much attention to that. And I just want everyone to know that when you're reading those history posts, that is all Kira. She takes the time. She's posting those. Everyone that's going, bravo, that's all Kira. So she deserves that praise for that. That is not me at all. I find it very interesting, but I just, with everything else I'm doing, I don't have that time to put into all that research like you do. You go for it and you're really good at it. So I think you would be awesome at doing, those history, and we can have more than one, history lecture, of course. The lectures we do want to, make sure they're not too long because, we know the attention span nowadays of
Oh,
people, right?
oh yeah.
we don't want to overdo it, because people are living off of this nowadays than anything else. So we don't want to overdo it, but I know that there's so much history and so much that you can tell people that I'm sure we're going to have definitely more than one history or, research, lecture that we can do.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm a former teacher, so I always enjoy being able to put that teacher hat back on, even though I taught 5-year-olds because I taught kindergarten. Adults are basically still kindergartners, so
We admit it. Why grow up? Honestly, it's a trap. Don't grow up.
mm-hmm.
I keep telling my kids that.
We'll bring snacks and juice boxes for everyone.
Juice
Heck
boxes.
yeah, yes.
They come in, we'll have fruit snacks and juice boxes.
Yeah.
We'll hand them out for the lecture. We could do that. You have a member to Costco, right? Go buy the bulk. That was something else that was brought up too, was a paranormal picnic. We did that once. Oh gosh, how long ago was that, May? That was like when we first started, wasn't it?
Well, I know Dave was at that one, so it wasn't that long ago.
No, Alette was still there though.
I know it was before COVID though, way before COVID.
Yeah, I think it was in the early years though, because if you remember straight, Dave did join in the early years, and then he left, then he came back, then he left.
Yeah.
So I think it was in the early years because I do believe Alette was there because I think Alette was doing the face painting, I think.
Yeah, she was.
So, but we did do a paranormal picnic before. Originally, what it was supposed to be was a fundraiser for, it was some animal rescue. I can't remember the name of it. They're probably no longer around. But we wanted to do a fundraiser and help the community. And we teamed up with some dog rescue, I think it was, or just animal rescue. I can't remember, to be honest with you. I just know it dealt with animals. But we found out we couldn't do that without going through all kinds of red tape, because if we were to sell anything, we had to get different permission from the park. So we were running out of time, and I was like, what if we just have a donation box and it's all free? And they're like, yeah, you can do that. And I'm like, what about an auction? They're like, yeah, you can do that. You just can't sell stuff. And I'm like, fine. So we ended up changing it to a paranormal picnic, and everything we did was free, and we just had the donations and like a silent auction. That's what we ended up doing. I think it went pretty well. I mean, the only problem we had was the fact that because we had all that red tape, we ended up putting it together like last minute, having to try to announce it. But we had a pretty decent turnout, I think.
Yeah, we had quite a few people show up for it, and everything that we had gathered for the silent auction was gone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think it wasn't a whole lot because it was our first time, but I think we raised like $100 to $200. So, like I said, it was kind of limited because of the fact that we couldn't charge what we wanted to do. So we just had the silent auction.
Yeah, there were a lot of permits that we needed, and yeah,
I did not think it would be that hard to try to do a fundraiser. I did not imagine all the red tape you had to do for a fundraiser. I was like, seriously? You can't just give people money? You can't do things? But no, there's so much red tape for that. And that was the first time we had ever tried something like that. So we didn't know. So now I know never to really try to do a fundraiser. Just do something and ask for donations. That's the easiest way to do it. Because you don't have as much red tape. It's a lot easier to do it that way. But the paranormal picnic went well. And then we mentioned like arts and crafts. We would just have to come up with like an arts and crafts. Of course, we'd want it like ghost related, of course, because we're ghostly. I don't know. We'll probably still find that stuff online.
Yeah, we can find a lot of like ideas like on Pinterest and whatever other social
There's always
media.
the good old fashioned lollipop ghosts for the kids, where you get like the Tootsie Pop and then you put a tissue over it. You make a little face.
Yeah, simple
Boom,
things.
ghost.
Yeah, there we go. Here's your ghost. But I mean, anything, and the whole point to us doing this is we just want people to know we're here. And we do want to help the community. We do want, to educate the community. We do want to be seen. But there's so many, little pop-up paranormal teams, pop-up, ghost tours, all this stuff. And they're not all bad. Don't mistake me on saying they're all horrible. There are other people that, in other states, especially not our state. No, I'm joking, but there are other people that I have met that are in this field, in this state too, that are very respectful. I do respect what they do. We do have a lot of our common grounds and stuff like that, but there's also a lot that are bad. These nationwide ghost tours, they're trying to squish out the little guy. That's not a good thing. Competitors is fine, but when you're trying to squish out, someone, that's not a good thing. And then some of these paranormal teams, they honestly aren't paranormal teams. I touched base on this, I think, last week. There's these like pop-ups that they have the public come with them, and no one's actually trained. I don't even know if they have trained people in the paranormal on that team. I don't know, but they invite the public in, and they've invited the public to be group leaders. And they don't ask for any type of training. That's not good. You don't want to go into haunted places without someone who's trained. Now, there's no experts. Don't get me wrong. There are no experts. I never even claimed to be an expert, and I've been doing this for 12 years professionally, and I've had experiences my entire life. But you need someone who knows what they're doing, at least. You don't want to go in there blindly, because you really don't want to disrespect the spirits. You don't want to upset them. And people, the general public don't know this. They don't know what kind of questions to avoid. They don't know, what they should or shouldn't do. There are things you can do to upset the spirits. And it's a learning curve, because certain locations, there are things that won't fly. And I have the perfect example of that is, Undertaker's espresso bar. You cannot go in there and say that men suck. Kira, you know this. You have to be careful, even with outside conversations, because Kira, you were there and we were having a completely outside discussion. We weren't even investigating. We were there. I think we had our equipment out, but we weren't technically talking to the spirits, and we were talking among each other. And yeah, who else was with us? Was it Debbie? I know she's no longer with us, but and you
It was
both were going through some situations with guys at that point in time. And,
Yep.
I was, we were talking about it. So I just made the comment out of the blue, men suck, because you guys were telling me all of your problems with the guys that you were having. And the spirits there, they didn't appreciate that. And they scratched me, and you and, Debbie witnessed that scratch. So we've learned, definitely don't put down guys at undertakers. Don't have that kind of conversation there. So it's a learning curve, but if you know nothing about the paranormal and you're going into these locations, you could totally be upsetting the situation. And as we have learned, even when you do this for a living, you can still upset the locations. And we go in and have to correct. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about with that one. I know, Kira, you do for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Where we go in and we apologize for people that went in there and ghost hunt. And we say, we're sorry for this person. We won't treat you like that. We don't believe that. We don't believe you're demons. We don't believe you're evil. And we have to go in there and change the tone of the environment because they went in there and totally made it a negative feeling. And then the people who work there have issues. So we want to do these free lectures, these free arts and crafts, whatever we can come up with. We're still brainstorming. We're going to hopefully start this in July or August, start having, at least one hopefully free activity a month. We'll see how schedules go. I know in October, we probably won't have any free activities because we'll probably be doing more ghost hunts and special events, fingers crossed. But we are going to try to get out to the community more. We want to be a part of the community. I know, May, when we started out, that was one of our aims, was to be more community oriented, and we were for a while, but and then we just got caught up with so many investigations and so much to do that we just couldn't do it anymore. And now we limit the cases we take, because before we took every single case.
Yeah, I think we were doing cases just about every weekend.
Yeah, maybe twice a weekend. I don't know. I know we kept busy.
Who knows that we were going crazy trying to keep up with everything going on.
Yeah. And that was because, again, we wanted to be a part of the community. We wanted to help. But unfortunately, and again, I'm not trying to make this sound bad, but not all of it's paranormal. And so we had to learn to kind of weed out some cases, because sometimes it is, electrical problems or, what have you. So we had to, and we put ourselves into some not great situations, which is something else we weed out now. We had situations, I mean, we do, check people out. We did avoid the sex offender one, thank God. Because we found out he was a sex offender, and we're like, yeah, we're not coming to your house, especially since we were an all-girl team at that time. But we put ourselves into other situations. Like, May, what's some of the bad situations you recall that we went to?
Well, one that stands out was the one who had already been drinking by the time we showed up. And so there was a lot of contamination due to this person moving around and talking and messing with their equipment. And I think at one point she got a little belligerent because she was already pretty drunk. So we had to cut that short. Um,
What about the one where things were piled to the ceilings?
oh, yeah. That wasn't really, I wouldn't say really dangerous. It just, we didn't have the room we needed to do what we needed to do.
Well, I personally did think it was dangerous because of the fact that we only had a walking path. Like literally the person was what, a hoarder, is that what you'd call it?
Yeah.
They literally only had like a walking path in each room, and it was piled up taller than me. And I know I'm not that tall, but still, it was like, 5, 6 foot, I'm 5'5", but it was taller than me, um, piled above my head. And to me, that felt very claustrophobic, very dangerous because I was afraid of things falling on me. And plus the fact that they had, uh, like, what was it? Like, not really old food, but like papers and stuff on their like stove, was it,
Yeah.
or something?
On
So,
the
I mean,
range,
yeah,
on the
so
range.
easily could have, fires, stuff like that. And even their yard was like that. It was like, it was a warning sign before we went in. Um, and then there's the one place with all the roaches, not necessarily dangerous, but you know me with bugs. Oh, I did
Yeah.
not like that one. I was like, we are not going lights out because the bugs, I swear to God, they were out in daylight with all the lights on, with all of us there. They were like doing a song and a dance. I swear, like those cartoons, they were coming out with their little top hats. It was bad. So we've learned that we have to like weed out things, and we do only accept certain cases now, and we do kind of check on the area before going, because we don't want to put ourselves into situations like that. We don't want to put ourselves into anything dangerous, anything bug infested. um, we don't want that, and we've been in situations like that before, and it helps clear out our case. And something else that I've noticed helps a lot is the questionnaire that we do send out to clients now. Because some people, they just don't want to fill out the questionnaire. And if they truly have a paranormal concern, the questionnaire isn't that hard to fill out. It's really easy. We don't ask like in-depth questions, but there's people that just do not want to take the time out. And I think part of the reasons why they don't want to do it is because we do ask for name and ages or birth dates. This is so we can look up their background. We don't want to go into a house where there's a sex offender. And in return, this is why we have our names and all of our information on our website so people can look into our backgrounds and make sure that we aren't, some psycho or anything like that. So it is a good idea for, them to look into us and us to look into them. And some people just don't like that. They just, for whatever reason, they don't want us looking up their background. And some people also get offended because of the fact that, we say only one person at a time, and, we ask them not to drink or do drugs and stuff like that while we're there. And for some reason, some people don't want to not do that, I guess. I don't know. But our questionnaire is pretty easy, but that also weeds out some people. But I do, like I said, I want us to get back into the community. I do want to do this rebranding. I'm really looking forward to doing this rebranding. I'm hoping it really helps. I'm hoping the show helps again, us getting out there again. We're going to start having, guests starting in 2 weeks and, talking about different things again. So it'll be like talking about books and other teams and things like that. And I usually get off subject, which is why it's called Everything Under the Moon, because I don't always stay on the paranormal side of things. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good. I think we're all going to have fun. And of course, I said that I want to co-host. So you guys have to decide if, one person wants to do it or if you want to take turns doing co-host, but I think it'll be a lot of fun to do. And I'm just thankful that I have a really good team and you're working with me to do all this and taking your time to help me with all this stuff. And I'm looking forward to what we got coming. And I think it's going to be really good. And I hope the public will tune in and we'll make announcements on this show, of course, too, of what we're doing and on our Facebook pages. And I think it's going to be really, really good and really fun. So before we wrap up the show, I have one last segment I want to do. I did ask about your funniest experience that you've had. I want you guys to talk about a really cool experience, whether it be funny. I don't really like to use the word scary, but whatever you can think of that really sticks out. I want you guys to talk about that and what it was like and what you experienced. So we'll go ahead and start with you, May. What's one of the favorite things you have experienced?
There have been a couple of maybe 2 to 3 investigations where I've heard disembodied voices.
I know the one you got freaked out on.
Well, it startled me because I wasn't expecting it. It was here in Tucson, and Becky, an ex-member, and myself were investigating this place. And Becky and the other person were sitting up on the stage facing outwards towards like where the audience sits. And I was sitting in a chair facing them. And I had my recorder down on the right side of me, sitting on a chair. And I had it going and I had it recording. And all of a sudden, in my right ear, it's like someone had snuck up behind me and whispered, "Hey." And I was like, I think I shouted out, "What was that?" And like Becky and the other person were like, "What? What's going on?" And I was like, I just heard someone whisper "hey" into my ear. Unfortunately, the recorder didn't catch it. I think later on it was in either, I don't know if it was the same night or another night we investigated, someone else actually got an EVP saying "hey" in their recorder at the same location.
Yeah,
So
that
that,
location, that was interesting. That was the one that I heard Get Out, remember?
yeah.
The same location, but we were in a different section. We were upstairs. I don't know if Kira, if you were with us on that one. But we were upstairs, and I remember, and it's definitely famous for disembodied voices because you heard the "hey," and I had heard other things too, but the "get out" I could recognize. I was like, I think someone just told us to get out. And I forget who caught it on their recorder, but you guys did catch it on your recorder that it did say "get out," but for some reason I was the only one that heard it. Was
Yeah.
it you
Well,
that?
it might have been mine. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
I just know that I heard "get out" and someone did catch it on my recorder because I said, whoever's recording right now, make note of it. And you guys did catch it. But it was weird because I was the only one that heard it. And you guys weren't that far away from me.
No, I think we were all upstairs at the time.
Yeah, we were all upstairs in the seating area. It's an auditorium theater type thing. And we were all upstairs in the
I
seating
think
area.
Kira was in there that night because I think she and I were grouped together, and then you and the other person were grouped together. But we were all upstairs at that time when it happened.
Yeah. So I think in that location, we've had like 2 or 3 like disembodied voices that we've heard at that one. And it was on different nights too. It wasn't all the same night. So that location does have a lot of disembodied voices. Do you have any others or?
The other time that I heard the disembodied voice was a case that we did outside of Tucson at someone's home, and we were outside in a work shed, and
Oh, okay.
it was myself and I think 2 other investigators. I can't remember who they were, but we were out there doing an EVP session, and I had my recorder running, and I thought I heard like a whisper, but I couldn't make out any words. And I asked everyone that was there, did anyone say anything? And everyone's like, no, we've been quiet. Now this person does have animals, but I don't think he was making sound at that time when I caught this. So later on, when I listened to my recording, I heard what sounded like a little kid's voice, and it sounded like he asked, "Are you help?" So I had
Are you?
heard something that night, but it didn't register.
Yeah. Yeah, disembodied voices are definitely interesting. That's one of those things, and I've heard them a couple times, but they're pretty cool to hear. In that moment, it's not something that oh, I'll hear later. No, you hear it in that moment, and that's pretty cool. What
Yeah.
about you, Kira? What has been something really interesting that you've experienced?
I talk about Colossal Cave every time, so I feel like I'm trying to think of something other than that because I would say being there was always like impressed me. I would say one of the times we were in Undertakers, I was just you and I, Becky, because it was for like a ghost hunt thing,
The public
but
thing. Yeah.
like a public one. But when it was like one of the nights, I kept like hearing something, and it sounded like a woman like clearing her throat, going "mm-hmm." And there was like two other women who were there with us, and it was this kept like in response to like questions we were asking, and I was like, okay, are you guys like talking or anything? And they're like, no. It's like, did you hear that? And they're like, yes. So like it was like a woman voice, be like, mm-hmm. And I think something else. There was another like voice around for that during that same time.
Yeah, I remember that night, and I'm trying to remember what it is that she said because I do remember the but there was an actual word that came out, but I can't remember what
Yeah,
the
I
word.
can't remember what it was either. Yeah, but I just remember there I was like that was like the two things, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely cool because she was like totally just participating that night. Whoever this was, it could have
mm-hmm.
been Emma because that, and we know that there's a spirit named Emma there. But yeah, she was definitely participating with us that night. That was pretty cool. I love that. When you know that they're there and they're participating and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I'm here."
Yes.
What about you, Jen?
I think we were doing, it was again that training night that we were all there, and it was me and Kira, and then you and May in the room, and we were sitting in Undertakers in the back. Kira was sitting at that table, and we heard somebody scratching like underneath it or on top of it, something like that. We all heard that, and we went in, and then I went in later with somebody else, and I was like, hey, you decided you wanted to scratch the table when Kira was sitting there. Can you do that for us again? It didn't happen again. So I was like,
Yeah, it's sad when they don't
so freaked me
repeat
out.
it. You're like,
Yeah,
come
because that was
on.
good too. I heard that.
Yeah,
I
we've
liked
we've done
it. I
that
liked
several
it.
times where we're like, "Can you repeat it?" And then they don't, and we're like crying. We're like, "That's so sad." I think one of my favorite things is when I do this and I get the two knocks back. It hasn't been often, but when we do get the two knocks back and we get that always makes me go, "Oh my god!" And I love that. We've gotten that. What, May? We got that at Arizona History Museum. We got that at the Old Bum Steer, and I think a residential case, and
I
maybe
don't remember.
Undertakers. Did we get it
Yeah,
at Undertakers?
we might have had it once at Undertakers.
I
Yeah, it
remember
doesn't
at
happen very
the
often.
yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but I remember at the History Museum, I was with you, and I did that, and we got the two knocks back, and you were like, "What the?"
Yeah,
It like completely shocked you that we got the two knocks because I think that's the first time you heard it.
probably.
Because I think the first time I heard it, I was actually at Bum Steer doing a reveal,
Uh-huh.
and we kept hearing the footsteps and stuff. And for those that don't know, Bum Steer was an old bar in Tucson, and it's torn down now. There's nothing there, um, but it was an old bar, and they had the old crickety floors, and you could definitely hear people walking. It was obvious when someone was walking. And I was there. We had done an investigation, and we had awesome EVPs. It was an awesome night during the investigation, and I got voices, and I'm playing them back for the manager who had called us in. And so we're at Bumsteer. I'm playing back the recordings, and as I'm playing the voices, it was like the spirits were like, "Hey, that's my voice." And you could hear walking coming up to us like they were coming to listen to their voice. It was amazing. And so, since we had heard the walking and we were hearing other stuff, we decided after the reveal to do a very quick session because I had my recorder with me. And so we did the session, and I did the shave and a haircut knock. And right away, boom, boom. I was like, oh my God, that was the first time I ever had it. And it was just, it blew my mind. And I was so excited about it. But that's always a cool thing to get that. It's always cool when you actually get like those in the moment things to where you don't have to wait to listen to it in the EVP. I love that. Or if you see things, I have seen things and, experienced things, and that's always the coolest thing. Well, that's our show for tonight. It goes by so fast, that 90 minutes. It always goes by so fast, especially when you're having fun. So I'm going to let you each say your goodbyes and good nights and all that. We'll go ahead and start with you, May.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening.
All right, you, Kira.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good night. Stay spooky.
And you, Jen.
Thank you so much. We will see you guys again soon.
All right. For everyone who tuned in tonight, we do appreciate you. I wanted to kind of give you a rundown of how the show will go every other week, Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. That will not change. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere we have social media for the most part. It's under Tuson Ghost Company and Society. My personal stuff is Becky McKitty Gydesen. If it's not under the company, you'll find me, and I do post company stuff on my personal page too. But we really do appreciate it. TusonGhostCompany.com. Please check us out if you're ever in Tucson. Please book a tour. We are the only locally owned tour here in Tucson. So please book that tour. We would appreciate the support. It means a lot to us. We appreciate you all. And until next time, remember, you are never truly alone. Good night, everybody.